the College World Series. Jaru, you pretty much nailed it when you picked LSU over the weekend. You said Tennessee would have a hard time hitting off LSU, and boy, did they ever. I mean, you thought they were going to make that push late in the game with that 2-run shot, but it just was a little too much. So, question for you, Jaru, do you think this is anything for Tennessee to panic about? I know they're in the losers bracket, but I feel like this was a loss you kind of expected, right?
Yeah, I really think you can just chalk it up to bad luck. I mean, if you think about in 2021 when they came to Omaha, they had to face Virginia's lefty ace, Abbott, who is not allowed to run in the MLB yet since getting called up. So they really just get super bad luck in having to face, the best pitcher in college baseball that year. And this year, it just happens to be the best pitcher in college baseball in probably 20 years. So I wouldn't panic about it. You saw Hunter Inslee flash some pops of power, like you said, with the 2-run shot. He was really on Paul Skenes' fastball, and he's a guy that can hit better against righties than lefties, which is kind of strange from the right side. But I wouldn't panic about it. You see Stanford's ace today, who threw 156 pitches a week ago, so I highly doubt he'll be at his best. But, I mean, I think the bat's a wake-up. You just kind of have to chalk that one up as the guy is the best in baseball, and you can't really do much about it.
Yeah, they were kind of the victim of the top 2 prospects in this year's draft because Paul Skenes got him, and then Dylan Cruz went 2 for 5, got a run on him. So just seems like it seemed like they were going to be outmatched from the start. And it would have, had they beaten LSU in that first game, that would have been a house money win, right? That's like winning a road game in a 7-game series in the NBA playoffs because they were facing Skenes.
Yeah, basically. And I mean, they might match up with LSU again in the losers bracket if LSU loses to Wake Forest and Tennessee wins today. And I like their chances a lot better when LSU doesn't have the best pitcher in baseball on the mound. And I think a lot of people would say the same thing. So I think you're right. If they would have won that game against Paul Skenes, it would have been wow, we didn't expect this to happen. But now they have to fight through the losers bracket on the tougher side of the bracket as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Joel. Let's talk about Stanford for a minute because I know they raced through 156 pitches a week ago, like you said, but they are still top 10. And, I mean, Tennessee has gotten a brutal draw, whether they're in the winners or the losers bracket with this College World Series, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, if you look on the other side of the bracket, you've got Oral Roberts, Virginia, and then Florida is the best team on the other side, and they almost lost to Oral Roberts last night. So the other side of the bracket would have been a lot more friendly, but Tennessee gets to fight through a bunch of national seeds. And Stanford, like you said, was the number 8 national seed. They swing it very well, and they're going to have their ace on the mound. So I'm curious to see if Tennessee if they can get hits, because you Chase Dolander throwing, you trust that he can give you 6-7 good innings, and you still have Chase Burns and a lot of other quality relievers left in the bullpen. So I think today really just comes down to if you get the good Chase Dolander, and then if Tennessee can put up 3-4 runs on Quinn Mathews. I mean, it's a week's rest and he's conditioned for, but he threw 100 pitches the weekend before, 156 last weekend. Like, he's been the guy carrying them through the postseason. And at some point you have to assume he's going to run out of gas.
Yeah, and which is an even better sign for Tennessee because if this gets to a bullpen game, this favors Tennessee significantly, doesn't it?
Yeah, they have so many arms left in the bullpen. And that's another thing about just being in the losers bracket is Tennessee has so many arms they can just throw at you that being in the losers bracket doesn't hurt them as much as other teams. Because, I mean, you still have a Seth Halverson in the bullpen. Chase Burns is still there. I mean, you have Camden Sewell, who's probably still fresh. I mean, A.J. Russell, the freshman, you can probably trust him to start a game. There's just so many guys who can throw at with so many different looks that I think Tennessee is in a good spot as long as the bats come around.
The Stanford, how many innings do they like to go with their ace? I mean, if you're talking 156 pitches, we're talking what? I mean, you might be pushing a complete game, right? If you have to.
Yeah, he threw a CG last weekend, but Stanford's head coach said, I guess it was on Saturday night or Saturday during the day, that he expects Mathews to give them 6 or 7. So I guess they're saying he'll probably throw about 100-ish, 90-ish pitches if he's rolling. You can't let his pitch count get too high. I find it hard to believe that he'll be 100%. I mean, it would probably take a month after throwing 156 pitches for him to be back to 100%.
Yeah, and if they're using him that much, then you would have to guess that they don't have a lot of confidence in their bullpen at all to get them out of these games.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, their bullpen is very iffy. They have a couple arms, but it's nothing like – if Tennessee brings in Chase Burns, you know what you're getting. Theirs is – if you get what you expect with some of their righties specifically, then you're doing good. But a lot of their guys are just might come out and walk 3 guys or might come out and look like a Cy Young winner. So there's a lot of inconsistency in their bullpen. I feel like if Tennessee can get Quinn Mathews out of the game early, that they'll have a really good chance of winning. Or if he's not good, he might just get himself out early. I really do find it hard to believe that their coach says the extra day of rest will make everything okay after throwing 156 pitches in 2023.
Yeah, and for those that are interested, Stanford, Tennessee is at 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Plus today. You can catch it there. And then LSU and Wake Forest is tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPN and ESPN Plus. If Tennessee loses, they're out. If Tennessee wins, when do they play next?
They would play tomorrow night. I think it's 7 Eastern, so they'll have the late game tomorrow night. So basically after tomorrow night, if they win, they'll be in the Final Four, and they'll have to beat the winner of LSU and Wake Forest twice to get to the championship.
And so that becomes a little tricky again then, though, because if you're Tennessee, then you really want Wake Forest to win, because beating LSU once is one thing, but if you beat them twice, you're likely to face Skenes again, aren't you?
Yeah, I would say if Wake Forest lost today to LSU, that Skenes would probably be available on that first game, because I think they get the Wednesday off. I'm not 100% sure. So I think that game would be Thursday. So then you're looking at almost a week's rest. I don't think they'd let Skenes roll 100 pitches, but I could see him getting 3-4 innings. Or LSU might just save him if they don't win the first game and then just tell him to get us to the championship in the second game. So you are running the risk that if you don't put LSU out tomorrow, that Skenes will be back, and that's basically a free win if he's on the mound. Even I would say Skenes not at 100% is still better than almost every college pitcher.
Yeah, I kind of see that too. I think the Nats are the Nats scouting him or Dylan Cruz? I can't remember. They're scouting one of the two.
I don't think the Nats want a pitcher. No, I know that Dylan Cruz and the Pirates have been linked. But then you run into the issue, if you're looking at from an MLB draft standpoint, do you want a guy like Skenes where if he gets hurt, God forbid, your draft style, you wasted a draft pick whenever you have Dylan Cruz, who has over a 500 on base percentage playing in the SEC. I would not want to be those managers and GMs making that decision.
Yeah, very true. Going to the message boards real quick. Rocky Top Tom says, good morning. Travis is asking if Dave got too hammered at Bonnaroo. I'm not going to comment. I have no idea. He says Skenes gained 13 pounds, 7 miles an hour on his fastball. Kind of looks like he went through puberty again, all in about 12 months. Cough, cough. Is Travis insinuating something there? Travis, we're going to talk about certain types of drugs later in the show, but not that one. Jaru, are you ready for this? Just for the heck of it, Dave's going to kill me, but we make enough hooker jokes. So did you get one of the shirts that Oral Roberts was selling this weekend?
I saw the shirts, but I did not.
So I'm just going to.
They were selling like crazy, though. There was a long line.
Oh, I'm sure. For those who are interested, Oral Roberts is selling shirts that say you can't beat Oral. Yes, they are selling those shirts at the College World Series. Now, by the way, this is Oral Roberts, for those who don't know, that is the school. The Oral Roberts the Human was the person who really started the televangelist movement, the very conservative televangelist movement. So for them to be selling you can't beat Oral shirts is actually, it's gold. It's hilarious. I love it. So,
and then unfortunately Oral got beat last night.
That's true. That turns out you can beat Oral. And so yeah, they got eliminated. No, they didn't get eliminated, right?
They won their first game, so they play a losers bracket game tomorrow.
Yeah, so the only team eliminated as of right now is Virginia, who lost last night to TCU. And so who you got today, Jaru? Tennessee, Stanford, LSU, Wake Forest? Who's winning each one?
Shoot. I would go Tennessee in the Tennessee-Stanford game. I feel like the bats will come around. And like I said, I don't think Stanford's relying a lot on Quinn Mathews, and I just don't see a way where he's 100%. I mean, even if he was superhuman, you have to be tired at some point. 156 pitches is a lot. And they weren't – another thing about them was they were not low-stress pitches. He was playing in a super regional game where Texas had base runners on basically the entire game. So you can't make the argument that he was out there throwing, bases empty 150 pitches, because they were not. And then looking at LSU and Wake Forest's pitchers are just insane. So I feel like LSU can score a lot, but LSU's pitching is bad. So I can see that game turning into like a high scoring game with Wake Forest coming out on top.
Okay, so it's funny enough, the Vegas agrees with you. They got Tennessee -130 in this, Tennessee -130 in this game, even though Stanford is ranked top 10 and Tennessee is not, which is intriguing. Wake -170. So over-unders on this. Over-under for Tennessee Stanford 9. You think there'll be more or less runs scored?
That's a good – I was thinking it was going to be like 5-4 or like 5-3, something like that. So I guess I would have to say I'll go under. I don't see – I mean, Tennessee's pitching is good. I don't see a lot of runs being scored in that game. Now they could play in 4 hours. I'm completely wrong, but
right. Heck, we need guys when we start this peer-to-peer sports with Zen Sports, which portion of the show is brought to you by. We might have Jaru setting some lines for it because he's set the same lines that Vegas is setting right now.
Yeah, I did think. I mean, I thought it would be like 5-4 Tennessee, just because. I mean, Stanford can swing it, but it's whenever you bring in that bullpen, it's like virtually impossible to hit. And like I said over and over, I don't see Quinn Mathews being as good as what he was.
Okay. Papa J says Tennessee showed some class with the tip of the cap. And Travis says take the over. Tennessee scores 9 on their own. Okay. Intriguing. A little bit of somewhat what you're saying, which is you don't know if you have faith in Quinn Mathews again.